Excuse me, is anybody sitting here? Sorry, this seat's taken. Sorry.
Welcome back to an all-new episode of This Seat's Taken, where I'm your host, Rob Miranda. Got a episode dedicated to Denzel Washington, unintentionally. We're going to be talking about the new Equalizer, Equalizer 3, as well for our throwback movie. My guest picked Man on Fire, also starring Denzel Washington. And for my guest today, I have a reoccurring, you heard him before, my old man, Bob Miranda, also known as 1800.
Hey, everybody.
1800, and you are also drinking 1800 today.
Yes. I like the episode where you and your buddies were drinking and having a good time, so I thought it would be fun if I did it and more interesting.
More interesting, sure. So I picked you for this movie for a couple of reasons. One, the Equalizer. We've bonded over this movie before. It shocked us how good it was. And also, I know you like Denzel Washington a lot. I love Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
He's been around many, many years. What's your top couple? Would you have a favorite movie, Denzel?
With him? Well, see, there's so many that were blockbusters.
Yeah.
You know, offhand, I couldn't think of one off the top of my head.
I think my top favorite is, what's that one where he's a dad and his son gets sick and he needs a heart replacement, so he holds the hospital up hostage.
Yes.
John Q.
Yes, that was
John Q. That was probably one of my top favorites.
That was an older one too. Yeah.
I think that's one of the very first movies that got me into love of movies. Really, he did such a good job in there. I wish we kind of did that movie too now.
Yeah, he did. He played that. He made the type of character believable. Like that's what you would do.
Yeah.
If you were left with nothing else.
And also, most famous for like Remember the Titans and stuff like that. He's just a well-grounded, rounded actor. He can do it all. He went from being a drama actor to he can kind of do comedy, like kind of dry humor a little bit. Yeah. But I don't see him starting any comedies. But he's proved everyone wrong with doing these two movies, saying he can do action too. He's kind of a badass in this movie.
Yeah.
The Equalizer franchise started a few years ago. I think all the way like in 2012 maybe. Where it's based on a show, right? Back in the day.
I thought the show came after this.
No, not the one with Queen Latifah.
Okay.
Wasn't there like a...
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely correct. Yes, there is a... Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're right.
That one based in the 70s. I could be totally wrong with all that.
I don't know about the 70s.
It's back in the day.
Back in the day.
Where it's kind of the same concept. This guy who's kind of retired with a mysterious past goes around helping people. Not just... like the most randomest people. It's kind of like the show and the movie Special Confidential mixed with John Wick kind of style.
And what gets it is like they don't even ask him for help. Mm-hmm. He just
he overhears them saying like, "Oh, like my landlord tripled my rent or something like that." Not that one, something like that.
Something more extreme.
My husband's keeping my son for me because like we went through a monastic divorce and he just wants the kid for just because I can't have him. It's that kind of stuff. Right. And he takes the law into his own hand. Like, he's not afraid to, like, kill if he needs to. Like, but he has his own morals. And then when Denzel Washington, because I think the original actor in the show was, like, a white guy.
Yeah.
I remember being, like, a big thing that he was black now. Which I thought Denzel killed it. And I think after the second one came out, that's when they tried reviving the show. I think it's still going, right?
Well, with Queen Latifah.
With Queen Latifah. Not only is it like race switch, but it's also gender switch now too.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, once I started watching it again because I'll put it this way, I was younger back in the day when the first one came out. So I really didn't get a hold of the concept. So now that I'm older, so I started watching it.
I love Queen Latifah. But that show, I don't know, it's hard to take it serious in that kind of role.
Yeah, you told me that before, and I watch it it comes out on Sundays. I watch it faithfully.
Yeah, I mean, because it's more like an NCIS kind of show. Like, it's not really, it's the Equalizer. I'm expecting it to be more raunchy like this one, like more raw and like more gruesome than what it is in there. Right. Hers is like more like get evidence to get them arrested kind of stuff. Yeah. It's like, it's not the same. It's like NCIS almost. Yeah. And Denzel Washington... it could be just due to the pandemic, COVID, the past few years, but like I feel like I haven't seen him in a whole lot recently. He's just getting older too, but he's proven in this movie he could definitely do it. I think this movie was supposed to come back like 2 or 3 years ago, but because of COVID pushing everything back, Came out perfect timing, I think.
Yeah, and I don't know if you posted it or I seen it post or sent it to you where they said Denzel said this was the final one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But the way they left it, it could pick up again.
Yeah, he doesn't really have an ending. I mean, if they were to end it right now, it would have been perfectly fine.
Yeah. Well, so are the other ones too, though.
So, like, John Wick, they said he was the same thing. Like, this is going to be his last movie, but it will also ultimately depend on how well it does in the movie theaters, which John Wick killed it. It was one of the best movies of the year so far.
I was say, well, I didn't know. I didn't hear the box office totals.
I mean, it's kind of hard to compare it now because of Barbie's crushing it and Oppenheimer's up there and all these other movies, but I would say John Wick 4 is probably the top 10 so far.
Yeah.
But they might make more. Like, they're making a show based off of John Wick, and there's also another spin-off movie, so I don't think that's going to be the last time we see him.
It'd be like Rocky, how they're spinning out. There's Creed and
Rocky, they're getting Creed.
There's going to be another spin-off.
There is. There's going to be a Drago movie.
Yeah, see, so
and there's also going to be an animated movie show.
Oh, yeah, don't stop me with that.
I don't know. I want to say it is going to be connected to... Cause it's going to be based off of Creed, though, not Rocky himself.
Right.
With Michael B. Jordan, because he's a big anime fan in it. Something like that. Something. But nowadays, like, all these projects announced, like, you can't depend on what people say, because part of the actor strike is, like, so things are getting pushed far back. Instead of just waiting, like, studios are just getting upset and, like, just canceling them altogether.
Right.
So you don't really know what for sure is going to be coming. A lot of popular shows have been canceled recently. Spin-off or sequel movies have been canceled that were lined up already. So, I don't know. It's just a bad time in movie business.
Speaking of sequels, I forgot what other movie The Rock's gonna be in now. He's coming.
Yeah, and like Expendables.
Yeah. Every time The Rock comes up and is in a sequel with the killer friend.
Yeah,
Killer franchise.
He kills franchises.
Yeah.
I love The Rock as a person.
I think that every time I see him in something now.
I love him as a person, and he's a good actor. It's just he tries to make the project about himself.
He comes in too late. But he tries to take over everything and stuff like that. And he's more worried about his brand versus the actual character. That's exactly why Black Adam flopped. He made it more about himself. Didn't really care about the character, and you could tell because he took over like who the villain was. He took over how many appearances and who was going to be in there and stuff like that. He just tried to steal the spotlight. It's just not cool. Like, he's more worried about his brain and trying to build himself up as a character, and he's not really worried about the quality of the movie. I feel like it sucks. But going back to Denzel Washington, he's just a good, guy all around. Like, you heard from years, he's never been a part of any scandals or anything like that. And if not mistaken, he paid for Michael B. Jordan's.
Now, I know you're going with this. Not Michael B. Jordan's. It was the actor who passed away.
From Wakanda.
Yeah, from Black Panther. Yeah. Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
He was a part of. He paid for this program where he sponsors maybe like 1 to 3 people to go to
an art school.
Art school or maybe drama school, something like that. And Chadwick Boseman just happened to be part of that program too. So he did. I think he did make a joke to him when he's seen like Black Panther. It's like, hey, like I want my money back now. He is a good guy all around. I love him. I seen so many from interviews, and people like come out all the time saying like he was so nice when we met him. He shook our hand. He took his time with us, and he's a very funny guy outside of the camera. Because like I said, I see all these videos. I love watching them interview.
And no scandals wrapped around him.
Exactly. He's just an overall nice guy, and he's the kind of guy you look at like he's doing Hollywood right. I would say. I was going to say, Equalizer was one of his first roles of action, but we're going to be talking about a movie, but that's totally wrong. They came out like in 2004, I think, Man on Fire. And I'm glad you picked that movie because it ties in perfectly with this one. Not only is it similar characteristics, but there's also starring Dakota Fanning.
Yeah, she was a little girl, and she acted pretty good in a... I watched The Man on Fire just knowing that he was a bodyguard.
Yeah.
So I really wasn't too sure what to expect out of it, and it was a really interesting movie. She played, I think, for a little girl, she played very well.
And I never even heard of that movie too, so I like to say about that one too. But before we get into the actual movie, The Equalizer 3, we went to the movies together to go see this, And you even said in the theater, like, this is one of the most people you've seen in the theater opening nights. Because usually, a lot of these movies I go by myself, but most of the time you were there with me too. Yeah, and I was surprised because I was actually more surprised to see this movie in IMAX. Yeah. Usually those are for some of the bigger movies.
Right. Like was it Gran
Turismo.
Turismo. I thought it was going to be packed in there. And
yeah.
Yet there was only 10 people total, maybe.
Yeah.
With this one, I was surprised. I'm like, oh man, they're coming to sit. Dang, they're going to sit right next to us, because we got crowd. It was a good sized crowd.
Yeah, and not only was it a good sized crowd, but a lot of crowd involvement in there. Like, what I mean by that is like
you were rooting for him
laughing, cheering, like like kind of gross and stuff like that too. It was a good time watching it. It makes the movie way more enjoyable. To see it in IMAX, I don't know, it was pretty cool. It was a pleasant surprise because like I was expecting to see this on the smaller screen, but I guess it's bigger than I thought it was.
Well, he carries a lot of weight, I'm sure. His name.
So
I wonder if Tom Cruise had a fit.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
Got bumped.
This movie is directed by Antoine Fuqua, Fuqua. So I'm not gonna even try.
Good luck with that one.
Written by Richard Wenk and Michael Sloan, based on a television show created by Richard Lindham. This movie is about Robert McCall finds himself at home in southern Italy, but he discovers his friends are under the control of local crime bosses. As events turn, Deadly McCall knows that what he has to do: become his friend's protector by taking on the mafia. Just like this, there's a lot of similarities to John Wick too. Like, you don't really fully know his past, and also in the John Wick movies, like, they just get better and bigger and more crazy as the movies go on.
With him, I like watching a lot of action movies, like even John Wick, and with this movie, I seen him do some stunts and some moves that I haven't seen before, and I was even at all and clapping when he did it.
Well, let me look up how old Denzel Washington is, because
he's over 50.
Yeah, I mean, you can just tell that by looking at him. He's 68 years old, and for him doing some of these moves, which is not really John Wick style, like all his moves are like hand to hand, where he's like, he doesn't really have to like do flips or kicks or nothing crazy like that. He's more like strategic with his fighting skills. Like, he knows like how close you are with a gun, and I just need to move like 2 inches away for you to shoot this guy and stuff like that. He has a mind mortality.
He has it where he pictures it. A lot of times he pictures it in his head because he looks around, so he knows what he's going to do, I think, before even. And
that's something I think they kind of veered away in this movie. Like, the first one, you see that a lot. You see part of his characteristics is like OCD with like his timing. His watch is a big part of his character. Like timing, like in 9 seconds till you walk out that door and blah, 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 stuff like that. You didn't really see that a whole lot in this movie, which I was kind of disappointed about.
That was improv with him.
I saw that.
With the napkins and how he's doing stirred. That was improv.
That's something he added to the character himself without really telling anybody. And it just worked. I thought it was cool. It made me like him even more. Because like
he paid attention to detail, I think. That's what
it was only like an Asperger's kind of thing. But he killed it with that. I love that attention to detail. But I wish it was more involved in this third movie. Like, he had a watch. He started the time watch before he started going fighting. But like, why? Like, what are you just timing yourself to see how fast you can beat up these people?
Beat his record. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that they brought it back, and they made it like almost like a symbol for when he comes back. He puts on the watch again.
He takes it out the drawer, like, oh, here we go. You know he's gonna come after him now.
Yeah,
which he does.
And the fighting is about the same, but there is more gruesome kills in this one. Right. Like, the movie opens up with not even showing his fight. You just see all the dead bodies that he left behind.
The afterwards.
And there's like, giant knives in people's faces, like there's bullet holes through people's skulls and stuff like that. And he's in Italy. Like, I don't think there's maybe like 2 minutes of the whole movie where he's in America, or not even the movie's in America, not him in America. He goes to Italy, and he's like taking on this giant winery. He's probably like 30 dead people around already, and you don't really see. You get a glimpse of kind of what he did.
Heavy. How you say, heavily guarded?
Yeah,
they're
heavily armed.
Heavily armed
guys, and it's just crazy. It just tells you about his skill set and stuff like that. And then he's calmly just sitting there like a hostage between these two people with guns against his head.
Not worried about it.
Nope.
And he goes like, you stole something that doesn't belong to you, talking to like a big crime boss. And you don't even find out what he was there doing in Italy. So I was going to be mad if they didn't say at all what he was doing in Italy.
I put that together after after we walked out. I'm like, that's what he was talking about.
I was going to be mad because, like, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past me because I feel like they did that a little bit in the second one. They didn't really fully explain how he got in that position. Like, he was just an Uber driver by the second one. So in this one, like, he defeats the crime boss, no problem. And there's another giant fight scene in there. And he had what he wanted. He was on his way home. He was going to go home. The movie wasn't even going to happen, honestly, until he's walking away and he sees this little boy who's kind of scared in the truck. And he, like I said, he has his own moral, so he's not going to kill a kid. He's like, all right, I need you to stay here. And he takes off walking. And the little kid sneaks out of the car and shoots him in the back. And it looks like he is about to die. How heartbreaking would that be? Like, you survived all this stuff and just to be taken out by a little kid.
And I think that's the first time he was ever hurt. Even in 1 and 2, he wasn't shot or even beat up, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure about that. I think he's been shot before, but I could be wrong. But not only is he shot, like he's shot in the back and he's very badly hurtly. And you see, like, there's a moment where he takes out his own gun and he does try to kill himself. Yeah. But he ran out of bullets. I was like, he'd rather go out on his own terms than just by a little kid. Like, that just speaks to his character. Like, wow. And it was very sad. Like, man. But like I said, it's in the first 2 minutes of the movie. You knew he wasn't gonna freaking die. Survive. And then he's rescued by this local doctor that kind of like goes under the books kind of thing. He's for the people. He delivered almost everyone in that town. He said
very small town. Yeah,
it's somewhere in Italy, and
I wonder if that's how they. I'm sure that's how they really live, but like in the the hills.
Well, I told you before, like, I couldn't live there. There's too many goddamn stairs
out the hills and everything.
There's too many stairs for that. Especially like. You see elderly people going up and down the stairs, but him with a gunshot wound, like, you could tell he was in pain with every step. Yeah. And this doctor is like, looks after him, kind of like a mentor. Like, he only decides to help him after he asks him the question, like, are you a good person or a bad person? And I think he responds with, like, I'm not really sure.
I don't know, yeah.
And because of that, he said that, like, only good people say that. Because I was thinking, like, that's kind of a hard question to ask. Like, yeah, I'm a good person.
Everyone's
like,
going to say, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're a bad person, like,
he's more honest that way, I guess.
Yeah. So he's there for a couple weeks, I would say, and then he's getting better and better. There's a lot of blood dripping from him when they're operating on him. I was like, holy God, that was pretty scary. And he's like blacking out, blacking in. And finally gets to the point where he's getting better and he's almost on his way out. But then he started noticing like this mob going around shaking down local businesses, money for like either protection or whatever they want. And he's like, all right, that's not cool. But then what gets more involved, it starts affecting. He learns more about like what's going on in the actual city. There's actually drug trades going on. A lot of local big shit's going on.
I mean, no one could stop them. No one could stop the local mob from doing what they want.
Yeah.
Like they said, they take what they want, and they did.
And there's a big crime boss behind everything, of course, but he also has like a little brother who's kind of like just a loose cannon. Like, he does what he wants and shit. Yeah. And I feel like we've seen that in a lot of movies. But there's also a B-side story going on at the same time with Dakota Fanning's character. She works for the CIA. And he tips her off about that local winery he busted earlier, saying like, hey, there's drugs in this. Like, I think you guys should come check it out. It's like, how do you know? Like, and who are you? Like, how'd you get this number? Blah, blah, blah. So she goes to Italy and try to find him. And like, I feel like if you were to take her whole story out of this movie, it wouldn't really change anything. It wouldn't add anything less. I mean, it wouldn't take away anything from this movie.
At the ending, I think it would have.
At the ending, it was a way to tie in to the second one. Like, but if you would take that detail out too, I don't think it would have mattered.
Yeah, but it added to it. I think it added a lot to it.
Yeah, I wish it would have been more tied in with the original first two. Even the second one wasn't that tied into the first one, really.
No,
because the second one you learn about a little bit more about his past. He was part of this agency that went to do stuff like it was like a private what you call it, a private.
Well, he was a Marine at first, Marine Special Ops, intelligent.
Yeah.
And then they went, I guess, private. I believe
private company that
Well,
like
in the second one, he didn't, but because he supposedly died,
yeah.
his friends, well, they did private.
Yeah, and you learn more about that agency, and you think there would be some record about him somewhere. Like they couldn't find shit about. Well, I guess because like you said, he does fake his own death.
Right,
So
right.
yeah,
He's clean, so no one could find out anything about him. That's all.
yeah.
He's a ghost.
I did forget about that, but I wish he would have called at least someone from the old agency, like, "Hey, I need your help" or something like that.
Well, he did. The old lady and the lady in second one.
I guess you're right.
He's the only one. Every time he need, hey, can you find this something about this person? She found out information that he couldn't, so because she had high.
And I feel like he had that
classified.
same person, like that kind of person in the next movie we're gonna talk about too.
Yeah.
So yeah, she has her whole story with the CIA busting drugs, and they're both timed together at the same time. Like I think the ones moving these drugs are this crime boss and stuff like that because they're trying to pin it on these terrorists, and he's like, no, I think you're right where you need to be. Everything's going down here. I'm gonna try to stop them, because he's also like harassing this cop who saved his life and his family.
Hey, you felt sorry. I felt sorry for him.
Yeah, because he was getting beat up in front of his wife and kid. I was like, jeez, like
And he's a cop and he can't do nothing. That's what made it worse.
yeah, because he tried doing the right thing. There was someone arsoned a local fish market, I would say, and then he ran the plates. He called like, hey, I need to see if you guys know anything about this van, and because of that, like they beat him up. And since they found out where he lived and like what it is, his weaknesses is his family, he's like, all right, we're gonna have a cop under our thumb now.
Well, that old place was corrupt. The police were corrupt. It went all the way up to the chief of police.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of corrupt people involved.
This is the most famous scene in the trailers. Like, there's a point where they go into the restaurant where the family's trying to eat, and it's fucked up because like the cop has like a black eye and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, guy. So he goes, and he's like, hey, we need you to do this job for us or something. He's leading into something like that. Yeah. And then who's looking over is
Robert McCall.
Yeah, I think it was by Roberto. He says in this.
Yeah,
make it Italian.
Yeah.
But yeah, who was looking over there? He's just sitting there eating and minding his own business. He's just watching, and then that kind of pisses that guy off. It's like he goes over there like, you just don't know how to mind your own freaking business, guy. So what does he do? He's like, oh, that's a nice watch. Like, what kind of watch is it? So he shows him, like, and he grabs his hand, and he's pressing against some nerves on his thumb. Like, I tried doing it all night. Like, what the fuck was he pressing? I had no idea.
He got locked up.
Yeah. And not only that, like, I can make you shit yourself right now. Like, they just added some extra humor into that. And it kind of shook him the whole like, it pissed him off, obviously. So, like, I need you guys to get the hell out of here. So they all go running with their tails between their legs. And what happens outside, Roberto comes and kills them all.
I didn't think it was going to happen right then and there.
Me neither.
I thought he was going to get ready, prepare.
Right.
Something.
It was cool.
He took the fight to them.
It was very cool how he did it, but like for him to kill the crime boss like that, like his brother, like I felt like it's kind of anticlimactic because it happened within 2 minutes. Like he killed him with ease. Yeah, I wish it was a little bit bigger for that one. So moving on, now he's going on bang onto the big crime boss because he knows he got his attention now. He killed his brother, and he knows it's probably a big no-no. He knows he's gonna have his head out.
Well, the crime boss starts doing stuff to other people to find out who's responsible for it.
Right. And on top
of course, they went after the cop again.
Yeah. Yeah. But on top of that, he's also doing bigger shit. Like, he's doing terrorist stuff because he's trying to get the CIA away from him. Like, he's trying to make it seem like someone else from outside this country is doing it.
And he wanted to take over the whole area, the whole coast right there.
Because he's distributing you pills, like all these drugs. I wish you would have seen the effects of it a little bit more, like throughout the country, like people, like at least showing the news, like people are dying from these overdoses or something like that. Because to me, it didn't seem like a big deal, like to see more effect of it. And then from there, you see more involvement from Dakota's character a little bit. She's involved more, like where the meetings and stuff like that. And then it comes to the point where the big finale. I don't want to give too much away in this movie because I think it was a great movie. Great trilogy. Everyone should watch it.
Well, it's Sunday, so they should have watched it already.
For a weekend, I think this was the perfect weekend to go watch it. It's September. It's nice out. People want to go do stuff. It's not like it's extremely hot where you don't want to do nothing.
Right.
So there comes the crime boss movie. Again, he's fighting off like 50 guys by himself. Strategic a little bit. He's picking off one by one, and there's one point where the guy's looking at the camera and he sees him behind him, and he's like, "What the hell is that?" And he gets killed instantly. I don't know. People who make these movies has something has to be wrong with them. They come like more creative ways to kill people.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like that in the other movie too. It was like, I don't think I've ever seen a kill like almost repeated in like a creative way.
Right.
There's a part where we've seen like he shot a guy in the eye. He stuck the gun in his eye and he was shooting at another guy through his eye hole.
Yeah.
Who thinks of something like that? So then cut to the crime boss. Like I said, this is probably the biggest spoiler. That's not really a spoiler because you know he's gonna kill the big bad guy. I love how he killed him.
Yeah, the crime boss is the big badass when he has all of his bodyguards in front of him, but when he gets it, you can see this change. It flip flops.
Change and he flip flops, and he does try to act all bad and stuff, but he messed with them like psychological.
He
too.
made him suffer a little bit.
Yeah, because like he showed him like I'm not scared of these guys. Like I killed them all, and the guy like the boss is like in his own house, like shooting at random stuff because he's afraid.
He's scared.
He's fucking with his head a little bit, and then to the point where I think he hits him and knocks him unconscious. He wakes up having forced down a bunch of his own pills in his throat.
Right.
That he was making him overdose on his own supply. Super smart. I thought that was a very creative and revenge.
Taste of your own medicine. Right?
Exactly. And he times it. Like, you have about like 8 minutes before that takes over your body and you're going to die. And what does he do? Like, I don't know why. He's out of desperation. He gets up because he's like, who are you? He's like afraid of him now. Right. He goes literally crawling out of his mansion down the streets. And
Where's
stuff like
he
that.
going? No one knows.
And he's just following. He's like walking him like a dog almost. Yeah. He even gets hit by the boss gets hit by a car.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
He gets hit by a car and then he didn't even flinch. Like our Roberto doesn't even flinch. It's like, yep, you I don't give a fuck. You're suffering. You deserve every ounce of this pain. And to the point where he crawls and he just happens to be in like the center of the town. And
yeah, that was a lot of crawling for that. Leaving a big mansion. Then you see you crawl, the next thing you know, you're in downtown.
Yeah.
That's the only part I didn't really. Man, I don't believe that.
I thought he was gonna be more like take everything away from him and like torture him, but then leave him for the people to take care of him, like finish him off, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Because there was at the same time there was like a parade or something like that. Not a parade, probably. Yeah.
They were worshiping.
Yeah, that's a parade. Yeah. So then I thought they were gonna meet up at some point there, and like he's gonna let them take care of him.
Yeah, that'd been a good one too.
Yeah, because he did something like that in Iron Man. I don't know if you remember. Like,
yeah, where he dropped them off in the middle.
Yeah, he's like, I'll leave them to you guys. That would have been pretty cool. But I like this ending too. And I love how they tied it into the very first part of the movie at the end. Because Dakota, like, she was part of the explosion and stuff like that. He goes visits her in the hospital because like she was like, oh, thank you so much for your help. I was like, thank you for your help too. Like, this, it was a partnership. And she goes like, oh, so you're going to go back to America now? I was like, no, I think I'm going to stick around here, but I need you to drop this off for me. And it's a big bag. And it's a bag of money that was stolen from the vineyard at the very beginning of the movie.
300 and something.
It was a very specific amount.
And some, yeah.
Because there was a lot left in there that they recovered too. They didn't even realize that much was missing because there was so much money in there. But he took that specific amount. He's like, I need you to take this to so-and-so back in America. Because he was working, and this is his pension that they stole.
They stole.
And he's like, how do you know that guy? He's like, oh, I gave him a lift once, referring back to his time back to when he was Uber driving. Right. So it just says about his character. Like, he doesn't know this guy. Like, the guy didn't ever even know.
Because he was surprised.
He never even knew, like, who delivered that to him.
Right.
Even if Dakota Fanning couldn't even tell him, like, who it was, really, because she didn't really have a specific answer. Yeah, like, when he told him his name was Roberto, I was like, there's no way he gave him his real name. Like, and I thought the doctor kind of suspected that too. Like, you're not really telling me your name either.
What else is his name?
Yeah, I know, but like, I don't know. If you would have told me that, like, I would. Oh. If he would have given a fake name, I would totally believe him. Because everyone in the theater, like, not the theater, but like,
he didn't look like a Roberto.
Yeah, everyone in the hospital kind of realized not the hospital, like that house, and the cop was like, all right, like, we're down to help you, but like, you seem like you're gonna be caught, like, attract trouble. So that's why he gave him a car. Like, I need you to get out of here as soon as you feel better.
Yeah. And say you fell if anyone asks.
Yeah. And then there's a part where the cop goes to the doctor and is like, what happened to him? Like, he fell. There's a couple moments that did make you laugh out loud. And then a couple moments like, yeah, like, you know, justice was served kind of thing. Most of it was like, oh my God, like, that was so gross, something like that.
Yeah, this one was gruesome.
I think this is the first one also. He kind of has a love interest too, like the waitress.
Yeah. Well, the second one, they had more of a friend.
Yeah. This one was like, he was flirting a lot more.
The first one, rather.
And I don't know. I loved. I know you said we don't know much about his past and how he got this way. I kind of like that about his character, because you can almost throw anything in there.
Right.
It's kind of like John Wick. You don't know about his past, how he got that good too. And the third one, like, he made all those connections. Like, he calls back, I need your help from so and so. Like, we just have to believe that because we don't know. We haven't seen that.
Right.
I like that, like, how they did that in this one. I love that with villains too. Like the Joker, you don't know anything about his past and stuff like that. It just makes him more
psychotic.
You build him up. You build him up more higher in your mind than without knowing where they're from.
You can go a lot of different ways with it. If you
Exactly.
need to.
And it ends with a tie into the second movie. Dakota Fanning's character, she gets a package in the mail from Roberto, saying, because you mentioned, like, I found your name in a little black book, or your number in a little black book. Right. She never asked, like, what book are you talking about? But she opens it with a note that says your mother would be proud, and you find out it's his best friend from the second movie. It was a very nice touch, and it was a very cool way to tie in the second one. But like, if you would have took out the detail, I don't think I would have missed it at all. I would have been curious how he got that phone number though. But
well, that was his mother's book.
Yeah.
That was his mother's book.
And
you wouldn't know about it because we didn't have cell phones when we were younger, so we always carried a little black phone book, a little pocket phone book. Meet somebody, oh, let me get your number. You write it in a black book. So that's what that goes to.
But she died like in 2017.
Oh.
And then, like, how long has this chick been working in CIA?
But she did her notes and all that, and that was her personal journal type thing.
Yeah, that was a very cool callback to that end. And like you said, like, he lives at the end of it. He's settling in Italy. He definitely could go for another movie he wants to, but if he wants to end it here, it's totally fine. Right. He retires an old man in a place he loves.
Say he's 68, so
yeah,
depends on how well conditioned he is.
Look at Tom Cruise; he's in 62, and look, he's like in physical shape. Yeah, they can go as long as he wants. He's such a good actor, Denzel Washington. And I think he did this movie very well. Would you go see this movie again?
Yes.
In theaters?
This one, I would.
In theaters?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't say that too often with you because I'm always like, "What? Didn't you just see that? Why are you going back?" You know. Yeah. This one I probably go with somebody else. So you know.
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit in my last episode. Like, the closest thing you can get to watching it for the first time is watching it with someone who hasn't seen it, because it's more fun. Like, experiencing for the first time, like you can hear someone laugh at something again, or like, oh man, that was crazy,
I
right?
think even if you know it's coming, you're still gonna get that all to it.
Yeah. What would you give this movie 1 out of 10?
I give it a strong 9. I really enjoyed it.
I would give it a solid 8. It's good action, good comedy, the perfect amount of comedy in this movie. I thought the pacing was very good in this movie.
You know, the guy helps the little person. That's one of them type of stories.
Yeah, and like you said, how I explain it is like, it's definitely like Spencer Confidential mixed with John Wick kind of style.
Yeah, Spencer for Hire. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like me and your sister always trying to help out the people who can't defend themselves.
You and my sister?
Your sister being in the Air Force and me working security at the bar. You help people who can't help themselves.
All you're doing is preventing like 18-year-olds going to the bar.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, I threw you on that one.
Yeah. It's a good movie. I like this movie a lot. I would go watch this one again. Yeah. I actually would have watched the whole trilogy again, honestly. I know you've been going on a binge watching franchises. Yeah. I think it started off with all the Scream movies.
The Scream movies, yeah.
And then you did all the Conjuring movies.
Well, yeah, because I know The Nun's coming out next week. So I said, well, I want to do those, because there's just 8 of them. Well, there will be. This one is 8 coming out.
Or that universe,
So,
yeah.
So I watched the whole thing,
And now you're on Insidious right now.
Insidious right now.
You're like on a binge. Geez.
And then the next one I want to watch is the Untouchables. They're having
Expendables. You mean?
Expendables.
Yeah, I gotta watch all those ones
they're
too.
coming
I think
out,
those are all on Netflix right now.
And then I want to watch. I'll probably do it this week, next couple of days. The Exorcist, the original Exorcist. To get
the
ready.
way they're making it look, I think it is tied to this one because I think that lady,
That's
the expert,
the mother of the child that's
possessed in the first
yeah,
one.
Linda Blair. Yes.
Is it the same actor? Do you know?
Yeah.
That's really
The
cool.
lady, yeah.
That's really cool. Not really looking forward to seeing it, but
I want to go with you.
yeah.
I'm gonna take my GoPro and just film you.
Yeah.
As we're watching the movie.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go on to our next movie, your movie that you picked. That was a perfect movie because it's starring the same two actors, Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning.
I wonder how many. Do you know the fact of how many years later that was that they worked together?
Well, this movie came out in 2004. So almost a full 20
What
years.
came out in 2000?
The movie came out in 2004.
Oh, okay.
So almost a full 20 years later.
Yeah, that's cool.
I wonder if he
she's all grown up.
Yeah, I wonder if he felt like older or like that kind of. It's kind of similar movie.
I wonder if he helped her get the role, get the part.
I also thought that too, but I also thought it would have been cool touch, like if she like kind of did save him in this movie, kind of like a callback, like oh now it's my turn to save you or something like that, you know. But he ended up saving her again in this one.
Yeah.
But she did good in this movie. She's a great actress. I know the name a lot. I don't really know too much work she's done since then. But I thought she killed in this role. The chemistry between them are both very well. I think his chemistry with everyone in this movie was very well. I thought everyone did such a great act.
He played a little bit in the beginning of this when he played his character was more darker.
Yeah.
You know, drinking heavy drinker. That's how come his skills are slower and everything like that.
We can just dive right into it. Directed by Tony Scott, written by Brian Hedgeland. It's based off a book written by A.J. Quinnell. This movie is about, in Mexico City, a former CIA operative swears vengeance on those who committed an unspeakable act against the family he was hired to protect. And who was I not expecting to see this movie was also Christopher Walken, who plays like his best friend from back in the CIA days.
Right.
Who he's the one who really lives in Mexico City, or in Mexico. And Denzel's just there kind of like visiting because you can tell he's like a lost soul at this point. Like he's seeking. Oh, that's something I also didn't talk about in the.
Well, he said he might have a job for him, so he went down there to maybe check it out.
But something we didn't also talk about in the last Equalizer 3. I felt like his religion was more involved than the other first two a little bit because he seemed to go to church a couple times and holding kind of like not a rosary but like a pennant or something. But I feel like for his religion, like his faith was more involved in this one versus the first two.
Well, that's because she gave them to him.
No, not this movie. I'm talking about Equalizer 3.
One. I can't remember.
But this one, yeah, like there is kind of a presence because, like I said, he's walking around like a lost soul. Because he even asked Christopher Walken, "Do you think God would forgive us for the things we do?" Meaning he's holding like a grudge, like he's holding the weight on his shoulder from like some of the things that they must have done in the past lives.
They're military also.
And even Christopher Walken, no, like I don't think we are. But you might as well enjoy what you can while you can, basically. So, and he brings him down to Mexico, saying like, "I might have a job for you." And who's hiring him is Mark Anthony.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised to see him in this movie.
I had to do a double take. I think I even asked you, was that him? And
because he's very skinny in this movie.
Yeah. Well, he's young.
Yeah. So
I think that was before J-Lo days, maybe.
Maybe around the time, yeah. Mark Anthony plays this big. I wouldn't call him drug lord, but like kind of a kingdom down there. He's inherited something from his father, like this big.
I thought he was in politics.
Maybe he was. I don't think
that's what I took it as. He was in politics.
Because he said he didn't inherit a kingdom. He inherited his father's debt. Right. But maybe he just means fortune. I don't know. Right. Because they do live very wealthy lives down there.
That shrine in his living room.
Yeah. So he hires Denzel's character, John in this movie, just to protect his daughter because I think he does have protection from the cops, but it's about to expire, and he's like
I think his lawyer advised him like, until you can renew it, I would suggest hiring protection for your daughter just in case, because like everything, it's kind of like the other movie, like where there's people down there who just want to hold your kid for ransom, because I guess it's a big problem in Mexico.
Again, bunch of crooked cops.
Yeah, they kidnap your kid and then they just charge you a ransom for it.
Ransom. That's how they had ransom insurance out there. I never.
A few countries have that actually. I heard a couple of movie interviews about like actually in the movie The Mummy, the made with Brendan Fraser back in the 90s. They cast didn't know they had ransom insurance on them just in case they were taken.
Oh really?
Yeah.
The character, no,
because
not,
I think
not
they were
the characters, the real people.
Yeah,
the
because they were at
actors.
Egypt. I think that's where they needed it or something like that, where like, legit could happen. And they didn't tell them, but like, probably because they wouldn't have done it if they knew that. So yeah, ransom insurance is definitely a real thing. So, anyways, he hires John to protect his daughter, and like you said, he's kind of a drunk in this movie. He just wants a job, really. He doesn't really want to care about the family. He just wants a paycheck. And Dakota, who's playing the daughter in this one, she's probably like 9 years old in this movie. She's had a couple bodyguards, it seems like, beforehand. Each time it didn't work out for whatever reason, I'm not too sure. But she's more hurt that she just wants a friend.
Right.
And he's kind of giving her the cold shoulder. He even like snaps on her, like, I'm not here to, you don't pay me to be your friend. Like, I'm paid to take you to point A to point B safely. And it kind of pisses her off. She gives him the cold shoulder a little bit too. And you've seen it coming. Like, it's pretty obvious, like, they're going to get closer throughout the whole movie.
She breaks him down.
Yeah. And it brings concern to the mom too. Like, hey, she just wants a friend. And I was like, I can see both their points. Like, yeah, I can see his point. Like, yeah, I don't want to get close to her because, like, this is a job and stuff like that. And I just don't want to, like, get close to her and, like, lose focus of what my job is and stuff like that. But also, if you want to get close to her, you'll probably be more willing to, like, risk your own life for someone like that too,
Right.
So I can see both sides in this movie. And he's a drunk, and of course,
Well, she liked to talk a lot. Being a little kid, nothing against her. Talk nosy, asking him questions, blah, blah, blah. And he's trying to do his job. He's trying to look around, pay attention. So
writing down license plates.
He didn't want to get distracted. So I can see his point, too.
Yeah. And then she's doing, like, swimming, stuff like that. He's kind of, like, he's almost like, I wouldn't call him a butler, but like almost like a father figure, because her dad is like really busy with work.
Gone all the time.
So he's taking her all these swim meets. He even helps coaches her to become a better swimmer, which I thought was gonna come into play a little bit more. I thought at some point she's gonna have to go swimming for her life. But the whole point of that was to get her used to the starting gunshot in the swimming pool.
Yeah, because she was always late off the.
Yeah, because she was so used to the gunshot, I think that helped her, like, when danger came and she heard a gunshot, she knew how to take off right away. Which, I don't know, like, I felt like they kind of dragged on that scene a little bit, like her training her. But not only it shows their bonding, though.
I thought that exactly. I think that was showing them getting closer. And
yeah. It also shows the bonding for the whole household together, because they're all there cheering for her and stuff like that.
The maids and all that.
I thought that was a really cool touch. And this movie is, like, 2 hours, 14 minutes, a little bit. There's some points where it did feel dragged on a little bit. They could have cut some stuff out. But overall, I thought the pacing was pretty decent.
Yeah, it's like you say, it's better sometimes to watch movies at the show, because like this one, I stopped, went to go eat, stopped, got a drink, and, took the dog out, so it might have been longer than 2 hours for me to watch this.
And then it comes to the point where real danger comes in.
Yeah.
Where he notices a car that's been following them, goes around, and then he sees a couple cops that are also seem to be dirty, and they shoot him. They think he's dead. The girl gets taken, and he wakes up in the hospital getting arrested for shooting 2 cops. But there's this reporter who's kind of playing Lois Lane and trying to figure out what's going on. She's
that's what his friend called her too.
Yeah, she goes like, those cops were off duty. Why were they in uniform in a police car that day at that place? And then I think I want to call her friends, but like she's acquainted with the police chief, was like, yeah, those cops are known to be dirty, and they're part of this brotherhood called Hermanos.
Yeah.
Where they just look they're dirty, and they just look after each other, though, making sure like they can get away with whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
And the kidnappers contact the dad, Mark Anthony, saying like, hey, like, we have your daughter. You have 2 days to give us, I think, $5 million. I think what it was. and we'll give you back your kid.
10. No, wasn't it 10?
I think you're right, actually. Yeah, $10 million.
Yeah.
And we'll give you back your daughter. And the lawyer and the cop who specializes in ransom, like, I think it's just best is to pay the money. You knew if someone's easily that, like, to say to pay the money, like, you knew something's not right. But he was, like, desperate, he said, to give them that money. So they go try to do the drop-off where something goes wrong. And I think that the crime boss's brother or nephew or something like that gets killed in this movie. And some of the money is stolen.
The voice.
The voice is the main villain.
Yeah. You see, a lot of double crossing. A lot in this movie. People.
Yeah.
Double crossing.
And I don't want to spoil it too much because I think people should go watch this. The movie is streaming on Max for everyone who wants to watch it. But like they said, the money was stolen, and because of that, they tell the family, like, yeah, it's too late. We killed the kid already. For the half of the movie, you're thinking this girl is dead. Spoiler alert. At the very end.
I was wondering if you were going to do that.
It is a spoiler alert. And it's kind of obvious, too. I put this together like as soon as they told her that she was dead. She's not really dead. But they did wait until the very, very last minute to tell you that she was alive. I kind of wish that she was dead almost, because I thought that made the story more interesting and more about vengefulness. And then the biggest piece of shit in this movie was Mark Anthony, who was in on the kidnapping. He knew they were going to take her, and it's because, like I said, he didn't inherit his father's luxury business and all his fortune. He inherited his debt, specifically with his lawyer, I think, and with his crime boss. Because his lawyer was the one, I think it was his lawyer who was the one who put this whole deal together, saying, hey, like, they want I think it's like $5 million or something like that they'll be
That's
getting.
what they tried stealing. I think they tried, it was $10 million, and they put $5 million in each bag, and they tried stealing $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one bag was for the ransom, one bag was actually full of money, the other one was full of junk paper.
Yeah. And that was like to pay them off, and he said, like, we're just gonna hold your kid for like 2 days. She's gonna eat ice cream, play video games, and then we'll give her back to you.
All right.
But then he didn't realize like something would go wrong with the deal, and they killed him. Like this whole movie, the parents think she's dead. And now this puts John in a frenzy. Like he wakes up, he's fine now. He recovers, okay. He's like, I'm gonna go after those motherfuckers now, because everyone's expecting him to go home.
Anyone tied to it, anyone who
Tied to that brotherhood,
got money, or anyone who looks at me because I'm doing this.
Yeah, and like I said, this is much like his character in the other movies.
Right.
Where he has a special skill set. On top of that, he's younger in this movie too, so he can do more. He's not really strategical like he was in the last movie, but he was more raw in how he was killing them. Like he was taking shotguns to the face and stuff like that.
He was straight up middle of the street shooting them.
Mm-hmm. You know? He didn't care. He just needed information, and he made it seem like he was gonna let him go. Like there's one, he stuck a bomb up someone's ass. He's like, I need you to tell me you got like 20 seconds, something like that. It's like he tells him like, okay, take it out my ass. Like, nope, and he just walks off and he blows up the guy. He was so raw with it. Christopher Walken does like interesting. I don't know. He's good at it, acting. Anyone could have. He didn't add nothing special to the movie, but I feel like anyone could play it. But he did good, I should say. Like I'm not really complaining about Christopher Walken, but it was just kind of odd to see him as his best friend choice in this movie, yeah. Denzel and him. I forgot how young Christopher Walken was too in this movie.
Yeah.
So he goes and he's putting together piece by piece like who the big crime lord is, because he's not really looking for the girl, because he's expecting the girl to be dead too.
He just wants revenge.
Yeah, and he finds out, he leads all the way up, and then he finds out about the dad, who was the one who's really behind it. And he gives him a choice. He finds a bullet that his daughter had. I can't remember how she got that bullet, because I think John tried killing himself too, and he took out the bullet and she kept it. But he gave it to the dad. It's like, you can take care of this.
A bullet don't lie. That's what it was. Because he tried using it, and it wouldn't fire because the primer was messed up.
Yeah.
So it worked for him.
So yeah, he ends up killing himself. I was like, I bet you John like feels like shit because like the daughter's alive. Like he really, I guess he still would feel like shit because like, yeah, he put his daughter up for collateral on his freaking ransom.
I'm just glad the mom wasn't involved in it.
Yeah. There was a point where John like thought she might have been involved, but yeah, I'm glad you said like she didn't turn out to be.
And then there's a big standoff at the end. Like, I don't want to give too much away. Like, I kind of give away big spoilers, but it was a good freaking movie. I enjoyed this movie. And for being... The only thing I didn't like about this movie was the title. What the hell does Man on Fire have to do with anything in this movie?
Yeah.
No.
I thought the same thing too.
I was like... I don't know. I was expecting something like maybe that'd be his code name or something like that. Like,
or he was on fire.
or somebody was on fire. Yeah, like, no.
The only one that was on fire was the guy who got blown up.
Yeah. I didn't like the title, but I loved everything else about it. Like, the details, like, the director's choice to do, like, a couple flashes, like, to go from one scene to another to showcase, like, either, like, showing a flashback almost or, like, showing him tying up somebody real quick, and these, like, glimpses of flashes. Yeah. Those are interesting choices, but I felt like that was very just a part of the time back then. Like, that's a lot of the director choices in the early 2000s.
And you said this was in 04?
Yeah.
And I heard of it back then, but I ain't going to catch my interest, but I was referred to it, and I really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. For watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is something I would watch again. Probably not anytime soon, but yeah, I would watch it again. I would definitely recommend it to people.
If it's on TV, I'll leave it on.
Yeah, I would recommend it to somebody for sure. I think that's everything I have about this movie so far.
I enjoyed it.
That was a great movie. Yeah. What would you rate this 1 out of 10?
I give it a 7, 8, 7, 5.
7, 8?
7, 5.
That's pretty decent. I don't think there's too many flaws. The chemistry is very well. My only thing is I think
it helped him too because he was when he was off the clock, he was in his little room drinking. I mean, straight out the bottle.
Yeah, well, that's just his character.
Jack Daniels. So he was a functioning drunk, but once he needed to straighten up because
that's just an nod to like the writing in this movie. That's just the character development that was very well in this movie, not just with him, but like the little girl as well. She had character because she became more brave by the end of this movie. And the mom, just the villains of this movie that was very, very well. It's something that seemed real, and they almost made it seem like this was based on a true story at the end of it.
I was wondering
because I had to Google it. I was like, "Is this based on a true thing?" But no, it wasn't because like this is another spoiler, but John does die at the end, and then this is like several months later they arrested and killed the voice.
I don't even think it was months later. I think it was a couple weeks.
Because I think they did go. Well, they did go after the voice, and during that arrest process, he did get shot and killed.
Yeah.
So but they put it in a text, like an updated thing, like most true stories do, like so and so later. I was like, damn, is this really a true story? But no, it wasn't. I was like, damn.
Or was it news? Ain't it? Wasn't it on the news?
No, it was just for us, the audience.
I thought it was on.
And then the reporter chick. I don't know, like. She was good. She was definitely the good person in this movie, but she was like sleeping with the police chief to get her intel.
Yeah, I know. Hey, but whatever it takes, by all means necessary.
And then because the police chief was on that too. And then once she like realized that she's going after him, she's like, "Oh fuck!"
Right.
I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I love Denzel Washington. I can't wait to see him in an upcoming project. What that may be, I'm not too sure.
So you don't have no insight on that?
Not quite yet. And like I said, with the strikes going on anyway, nothing's getting worked on.
How long has that been going on?
I know the writers, I think since March. And the actors, maybe since May. Yeah.
Oh, so they ain't probably even close.
Nope. They had negotiations a couple of weeks ago to try to make another deal, but they got nowhere with that. So they're still going strong. My hopes are that as soon as this thing's over, we're just going to get hit with a bunch of good content, though, right away. Because I feel like you have time to build all this stuff up. Like, I'm sure you're not supposed to be writing, but I'm sure, like, writers are writing at their house or something.
Keeping out, building it up.
Yeah, because, like, I'm hoping all this content is going to be, like, back to back to back.
Come out faster now.
Yeah. But it's slowing down the process for now. It's probably going to slow it down for the next 2 years.
There's still good movies out there.
Yeah. A lot of movies I was looking forward to this year got pushed back. Is there anything to look that's keeping your eye out right now?
The next one, The Nun, the Exorcist.
Yeah.
And the one I really want to see is I forget the title.
Dumb Money.
The Stockbroker.
Yeah, Dumb Money. Yeah.
I really want to see that one.
That one took place like not even
maybe 2-3 years ago, I think.
The guy I work with, Terry, he was telling me he actually remembers all that when it happened.
Yeah, it happened like 3 or 4 years ago.
What? He knows about that. I never followed anything with the stock or anything like that. So.
Yeah, something happened with GameStop where people found a hack, and then GameStop came back in retaliation. But I'm more looking forward to the cast in that one. It has a lot of big stars in that one.
I don't think it was 3-4 years ago.
It was definitely before, like, it was like 2016, 2017, maybe even after that.
I'm gonna find out. I don't think it was that soon.
It was pretty freaking soon. That's how I was shocked out this movie.
I thought it was maybe the 90s or something.
No.
Yeah, GameStop.
GameStop's been around for years, yeah, but this recently happened.
Is the GameStop still around now?
Yeah, not as big, but yeah.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
I want to look into that.
Yeah. That's a good movie coming up. I don't know. There's a lot of good movies that coming out recent more.
Those are my 3 that I want to, because I know they're and Untouched. Well, I keep calling
Expendables.
it Expendables.
I haven't seen one of those, but I gotta watch all of those before it comes out. I'm coming up on my 200 mark for movies to see this year.
Really?
I'm like at 192 right
Does
now.
that count repeats? Repeats don't count.
It does count repeats.
No, you shouldn't.
It's counting my time wasted watching movies.
You shouldn't count repeats.
Yeah, next year I'm gonna keep more of a.
I can see watching it, but not in the same week, dude.
Uh,
Especially cartoons. No,
it's not a cartoon.
I don't get that.
Yeah, I definitely clocked in hours with movies. My goal was 200 this year. I'm definitely gonna surpass that. I think my goal might be for 300 next year. Now that I can do it.
Well, I always go if I want to see it.
Yeah.
Especially when you pay for the ticket.
We're gonna go see the new horror movie this Thursday. I'm not looking forward to that at all.
I will have video, and I will tell you how we.
Yeah.
How we acted.
Next episode is obviously gonna be The Nun. We just talked about it. I think recurring guest Fernando might be on for that. After that, I got a couple of special editions coming up later in the month. But I think we're gonna be officially starting spooky season next episode.
Yes.
Yeah, new horror movies for the full month of.
And you got to dress up in character.
Yeah, maybe for a Halloween episode because I got somebody coming on for that.
That'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks for everyone listening. Subscribe to the Instagram page, the YouTube, TikTok. I'm also gonna tag my pops in there if you want to follow them. No creeps though. Thanks for ever listening. Stay tuned next week where I'll be saving your seat.
Later, guys.